Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjalishalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. In this session, we will be discussing from the 5th verse of the 15th chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Arjuna Vacha Vanchitoham Maharaja Harina Bandhurupina Yena me Apahritam Tejo Deva Vismapanam Mahat. The meaning of this verse is, Arjuna said, O King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, who treated me exactly like an intimate friend, has left me alone. Thus my astounding power, which astonished even the demigods, is no longer with me. So, immediately Arjuna's response is that the Supreme Lord has returned to his abode, and Arjuna is feeling separation from that dearmost Lord Krishna. And the immediate response of Arjuna is that Arjuna's astounding power, which he displayed in the presence of Krishna, is no longer with Arjuna. And that power was astounding even to the greatest of demigods in the heavenly planets. And that power is no longer with Arjuna. So, Srila Prabhupada explains this in the purport very nicely. What is the significance of this statement by Arjuna? Srila Prabhupada explains on the basis of what is said in the Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is entitled, The Opulence of the Absolute. What's the meaning of that? The opulences of Krishna, which are displayed by him in the material world. So those opulences are described in the 10th chapter, specifically on the request of Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. So one such verse, 41st verse in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, anyone specifically powerful and opulent in wealth, strength, beauty, knowledge, and all that is materially desirable is to be considered but a product of an insignificant portion of the complete whole of my energy. This is Krishna's statement in the Bhagavad Gita, the 41st verse of the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So what does it mean? Anybody may have some wealth, or they may have extraordinary beauty or strength or knowledge or any possession, anything glorious, anything wonderful, anything astounding. But that is only Krishna's own energy, which is a tiny fragment of that energy is being displayed. So, this is to be understood, all wealth, all strength, all knowledge, all beauty is actually Krishna's own energy in different forms, in different varieties. Krishna's own beauty. Each one of us If we have some beauty, it is a tiny portion of Krishna's total beauty. Even for a matter, this material body that we have, which is made up of the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air and sky. This material body is also a tiny portion of the earth, water, fire, air and sky, which is Krishna's material energy. From that, a small portion is taken, combined, and this body is formed. So the body is also part of Krishna's material energy. I, as spirit soul, I am also part of Krishna's marginal energy. So everything is Krishna's own energy. Everyone is Krishna's own energy. This is to be carefully understood. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, no one therefore can be independently powerful in any measure without being endowed by the Lord. So if I have any wealth, it is bestowed upon me by Krishna. If somebody else has more wealth or less wealth than me, even they are having that greater wealth or lesser wealth bestowed by Krishna only. Now this is irrespective of somebody's being a devotee or a non-devotee. Independent of that. Everyone's wealth actually is a portion of Krishna's own wealth. Everyone's strength, everyone's beauty, everyone's knowledge is a portion of Krishna's knowledge. Now further Srila Prabhupada explains, when the Lord descends on the earth along with his eternal ever-liberated associates, he not only displays the divine energy possessed by himself, but also empowers his associate devotees with the required energy to execute his mission of incarnation. Lord Krishna comes to this world as incarnation. He comes with his associates, eternal associates from the spiritual world. Now he comes with his energies, with his power, with his wealth, with his beauty. His devotees also, they come here and they are bestowed with required wealth, strength, beauty, knowledge, etc. by the Lord in order for them to participate in Krishna's mission in this material world. So they are endowed with the required necessary wealth, strength, etc. And Krishna comes, of course, with his totality of his wealth, strength, knowledge, beauty, etc. Now in the same Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter, 5th verse, it is stated, the Lord and his eternal associates descend on the earth many times, but the Lord remembers all the different roles of incarnations, whereas the associates by his supreme will forget them. In the 4th chapter, Krishna explains to Arjuna, both you and I have come to this earth many times in the past. I remember all those previous appearances, but you have forgotten them. So it is a fact that the eternal associates of Krishna, like Arjuna, whenever Krishna incarnates, Arjuna also incarnates with Krishna. But Arjuna cannot remember in his present life, he cannot remember his past lives. But Krishna remembers everything. All his past appearances as incarnation, and even Krishna remembers with whom he has appeared in which incarnation. That also remembers. Because Krishna's memory is unlimited. Our memory is limited. Krishna's knowledge is unlimited. Our knowledge is limited. Like that. So Krishna remembers everything. We don't remember everything. That difference eternally exists between each one of us, all the living entities, and the Supreme Lord. So Krishna is always, the Supreme Lord Krishna is always infinite or unlimited, and we are always limited or finite or tiny. This difference, unlimited Supreme Lord and limited Jiva, eternally exists even in the case of pure devotees, even in the case of liberated souls, and definitely so in the case of conditioned souls or living beings who are entangled in this material world. In all cases, all circumstances, all situations, all positions, every jiva, liberated jivas, conditioned jivas, all souls, all living beings, they are always limited, and Krishna is always unlimited. Now further Srila Prabhupada says, the Lord takes away with him all his associates when he disappears from the earth. The power and energy which were bestowed upon Arjuna were required for fulfillment of the mission of the Lord. But when his mission was fulfilled, the emergency powers were withdrawn from Arjuna. Arjuna was bestowed some extraordinary powers by Krishna, but when the mission was over, Krishna withdrew the powers of Arjuna. Why? Because Prabhupada says, because the astounding powers of Arjuna, which were astonishing even to the denizens of heaven or the demigods, were no longer required, as they were not meant for going back home, back to Godhead. So now what Arjuna requires to do is to go back to Godhead, because that's where he actually is eternally present. He had come when Krishna came, along with Krishna, for the sake of participating in Krishna's pastimes. So when Krishna's pastimes are wound up, then Arjuna's power is also withdrawn by Krishna. It is Krishna only who gave Arjuna the power, extraordinary power, and Krishna only withdraws it when the power is no longer required by Arjuna. So that extraordinary power is not required for Arjuna to go back home, back to Godhead. If endowment of powers and withdrawal of powers by the Lord are possible even for a great devotee like Arjuna, or even for the demigods in heaven, then what to speak of ordinary living beings who are but fixed compared to such great souls? Even any person in this world, however great he or she may be, they display certain extraordinary power or knowledge or strength or skill or wealth because Krishna has bestowed it upon them. And when Krishna withdraws or takes away what is bestowed, then they will be unable to possess them. They will be unable to use them. They will feel the absence of such extraordinary power or wealth when Krishna withdraws. So Srila Prabhupada concludes by telling, the lesson is therefore that no one should be puffed up for his powers borrowed from the Lord. Whatever anyone may have, they are actually borrowed from Krishna. And don't be proud about the borrowed power, thinking, I have power or I have become powerful on my own, which means that nobody is independent. Independently, nobody is powerful. The sane man should rather feel obliged to the Lord for such benefactions and must utilize such power for the service of the Lord. Such power can be withdrawn at any time by the Lord, so the best use of such power and opulence is to engage them in the service of the Lord. So if you have got some extraordinary wealth, or whatever wealth you have in your possession, it is best utilized in the service of Krishna. If you have any power, if you have any skill, if you have any knowledge, if you have any strength, please use it in Krishna's service. Otherwise, if you use it for something else, you will be completely bewildered. you will be baffled in your attempts to use it some other way, because it will be withdrawn when it is no longer required by the Lord who bestows it. So don't be proud, don't use it for anything other than the Lord's service. That's a lesson to be learned. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.